Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Papa. Happy birthday to you. Richard Eugene Englar was born on January 30th, 1933 in York, Pennsylvania, to William and Helen Englar. He had two siblings, an older brother William and a younger sister Lois. He was the middle child. In his early years, one of Dad's passion was singing, and he belonged to the boys' choir. Another passion was sports. Dad played everything: football, basketball, baseball, and ran track. He attended Milton High School in Pennsylvania and was a star athlete. On the football team, Dad played both ways. He was a quarterback and linebacker. He said everyone played both ways back in the day. Because they didn't have a face mask in those days, he broke his nose twice. Dad had a school record. He once intercepted the opponent's ball in the end zone and ran it back 101 yards for a touchdown. Today, you would call it a pick six. Dad graduated from Milton High School in 1950 and then in 1952 enlisted in the United States Air Force in San Antonio, Texas. He was a pilot. That is where he met the love of his life, Jane Etsuko Nishimiya. They were married on May 29, 1954. Dad said she was the most prettiest thing he had ever seen. They moved to Pennsylvania with Dad's family and had their first son, Richard Jr., on May 4, 1955. Next, on the happiest day of Mom and Dad's life, their second child was born, a daughter, Faye Leilani, born on April 28, 1958. Oh wait, that's me! 2 years later, they moved to Hawaii, and 10 years later, they had their third child, a second son, Michael Stanley, born on August 27, 1968. Dad had 10 grandchildren: Katrina, Richard, Julie, Kalani, Bronson, Shelley, Mikey, Nicholas, TJ, and David. He also had 5 great-grandchildren: Nanea, Jenna, Leah, Kalani Jr., and LB.
I guess I'll start with one of the happiest days of my dad's life, the day Michael Stanley Englar was born. Dad named me Stanley after Stan Musial of the St. Louis Cardinals, also known as Stan the Man. Out of the 3 children, he only tells the story of when I was born. It goes something like this. On August 27, 1968, Waianae High School football team were in 2-a-day practices. Coach Ginoza was still in the locker room when the stretching and agility drills were done. When he came out, he shook my dad's hand and said, "Congratulations, it's a boy. Go see your son." Dad responded, "Thanks, coach. I'll be here for the afternoon practice." As I was growing up, I was constantly his shadow, always wanting to tag along, especially when he went to the football field. It was the heyday of Waianae football. Every year, there were players who became household names: Omega Reyes, Tui Ala, and Mike Beasley, just to name a few. I loved Sundays the best. It was the day when the field was flooded. The sprinklers would be on for hours, and the coach's kids would get to run around the field getting all soaked. Dad was an extremely faithful member of the Waianae United Methodist Church. When he moved to Hawaii, on his first Sunday here, a man named Nat Dunson shook his hand, put his arm around him, and told him, "This is a special church. Welcome." Dad did whatever needed to be done, from leading the choir, to being treasurer, to being the lay leader, to giving announcements, to being the huli huli chicken coordinator. You name it, he did it. Eventually, he found his way to the district office in town next to the Harris United Methodist Church. Again, he did whatever was asked of him. Dad and his good friend Alvin Maeda would audit all the churches on Oahu, as well as meet once a week at Zippy's for lunch. He also would go every year to Redlands, California for the annual church conference. I'm not sure how many years, but I know it was more than 30. He was so faithful to his church. There were two programs that Dad would always watch. First was Billy Graham. Anytime Billy Graham was on TV, Dad had to watch. At the beginning of the show, there usually was a singer that Dad really admired. His name was George Beverly Shea. Dad would always end up singing the song that George Beverly Shea sang on the Billy Graham Show at church the following week. The second program was the Boston Pops Orchestra on PBS. He always watched, and I watched too. Yep, and that's why I'm a music teacher today.
Dad began his teaching career in 1960 at Waianae High School. He taught social studies and English. He was also a counselor and a vice principal. He loved the students and community of Waianae. He said it was the best place to live on the island. In those days, we all knew each other, and it felt like family out here. Dad would go out of his way to help students, not just with academics, but even when they had personal problems. Students would come to our home and visit him when they came home from college. About 7 years ago, one of his former students called him on the telephone and thanked him because of the help he gave him in school. He had a better life today. Dad just cried with tears of joy. Coaching sports at Waianae was his heart, especially football. He even suited up for practice. He was very proud of all his players. In 1975, when Waianae lost to Kamehameha 20-14 in the Prep Bowl, Dad wrote on the chalkboard in the locker room, "We didn't lose, we just ran out of time." This was printed in the Honolulu Advertiser. When Waianae High School had its 50th reunion, it was nice to see his former students line up to see him and talk with him. Wherever he went, his former students would get excited to see him. He didn't remember everyone, but it brought joy to him.
In 1979, my dad moved from Waianae High School to Nanakuli High School to coach football. The Golden Hawks didn't start off very good, and in those days there was no D2. My mom reminded my dad that he wasn't sent there to win football games. He was sent there to minister to the students of Nanakuli High School, and eventually winning would follow. Dad was always the motivator. In their best season, after they had lost 2 games in a row, he told the boys, "We have a new saying around here." He used the line from Rocky II, "We ain't going down no more." And he believed so much in that saying that he paid for all the players and coaches to go see that movie at Nanakuli Theater. One of the things Dad enjoyed was going to Las Vegas. He went there to gamble, but it really wasn't his main priority. He would love to stay at the Gold Coast Hotel and sit all day at the lounge where there was a Dixieland jazz band that would play every day. He would sit and listen for the 45 minutes. Then when the band took their break, he would go to gamble. And as soon as he heard the band start playing again, he would stop and head back to the lounge. At the California Hotel, he met waiters and waitresses through former student, player, and neighbor William Moniz. They always treated him well, so much so that he refused to stay at any other place except the Cal. When Mom got sick from lymphoma, Dad was there at the hospital and eventually hospice every day. Every day. It was during those 3 months that I really admired him for his perseverance. He prayed constantly for Mom and was always at her bedside, never giving up hope that she would be healed. Mom went to be with the Lord on October 24, 2009.
On February 21, 2015, Dad was inducted into the Waianae Coast Hall of Fame. Our family felt so honored that Dad was one of the 40 people that were chosen for this award.
Started his educational career as a history and English teacher at Waianae High School. Over the years, he also took on the roles of assistant JV football coach, assistant varsity football coach, campus counselor, vice principal, athletic director, and emceed a number of prep rallies before almost every football game. In fact, he was going to MC this, but he was getting on it. In 1977, Richard made the move to Nanakuli High and Intermediate School to assume the varsity football coaching position for the Golden Hawks. He retired in 1995. In all, 35 years of total service to the future of the Waianae community. His award will be accepted by... I see him. But there's another name here. Don't read that name. No, this is the man. So give him. Come on, give it up. Richard.
And it probably still fights you.
See the handsome guy next to him? That's his father.
In November, before going into surgery, the anesthesiologist, you know, the guy that puts you to sleep before the surgery, saw his chart and said, "Are you Richard Englar, the football coach from Waianae High School?" My dad said yes. And he started to get so excited and he yelled, "Oh my gosh, everyone, this is Richard Englar, the football coach from Waianae High School," like he was a big celebrity. Then the nurse told me, "Don't worry, he knows everything about football in Hawaii." Then he began to tell my dad about all the games. My dad grinned from ear to ear.
When Dad was in the hospital, he also gave me words of advice. Take care of your family, take care of your sister, and lastly, and most importantly, I'll meet you when you get to heaven. Then he told me, go home, not wanting me to stay with him. Thank you, Dad, for being you. Kind, loving, nice, always smiling. The words people always use to describe you when they find out that I was your son. Besides that, being so faithful to your family and your church, doing whatever needed to be done without giving it a thought and without tiring. That unconditional love that can only be found through faith. What a great life you lived, Dad, and I'm so glad that I was a part of that life. Don't forget to save me a spot in the choir, hopefully right next to you. And yes, I'll see you when I get to heaven.
I'd like to stay. I cannot tell a lie. Goodbye.